Welcome back to Pagitt Radio, broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities. 11:21, 21 minutes after 11 a.m., 39 minutes before high noon at Twin Cities. And new guy, are the Vikings playing at noon today? Home opener.
Look out.
The Vikings are the big kickoff, and here they go.
Yeah.
So some people are all revved up.
You're not,
They're
though?
all fired. Well, I didn't even know what time they were playing. In fact, I only remembered that they were playing today. And this isn't going to help me with listeners, I'm guessing. Well, maybe people would say, I like a radio host that doesn't follow the Vikings quite so closely.
Maybe, yeah.
If they win and they get to the playoffs or the Super Bowl, I jump on the bandwagon.
Sure.
Yes, I don't eat at bad restaurants, I don't see bad movies, and I don't cheer for bad football teams. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Bandwagon. Where's that phrase ever come from? But anyway, they're playing at noon today, and that's a big deal. So a bunch of people are going to be having parties, and for that, I couldn't be more happy.
Sure.
People are having parties and getting along and cheering and hoping for other people to perform poorly in their professional endeavors so that their team can win.
What could be wrong with that?
See, that's what I don't like about sports like that. How willing people are to cheer at the failure of someone else. As a parent, when I'd be at games that my children are in, or yesterday watching the women's rugby team in Eau Claire, where my daughter plays, hearing other parents cheer when a player does something poorly on the other team seems really bad bad sportsmanship. Like I'd be at a basketball game watching my son play basketball, and when the other team would miss a free throw, people in the stands on our side would cheer. I think you should only cheer when your team does well.
Well, I like to see
You shouldn't cheer at the failure of another.
excellent performance. So whoever's doing something great on either team, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. Good, good for
you
you.
should cheer on the good things, not cheer on the failure of someone else.
Yeah.
So today, take that as a little experiment. See if you enjoy the Vikings game. Who are they playing today, new guy? The Miami Dolphins. So when one of the Dolphins fails at his professional endeavor, try not to find joy in that.
Sure.
Because I think we'd have a better world if we weren't cheering on other people's failures.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were having this conversation in the first first segment here, the second hour, about what Michael Dowd was suggesting, the guest who decided not to show up. And I've only been stiffed on this show one other time, so this guy's in trouble here.
Right.
So he didn't show up, but we were having this conversation about how Christianity, from my vantage point, and I think Judaism as well, but I'm not a practicing Jew, I'm a practicing Christian, but I would speak well enough for Judaism as well, is not just a global faith, it's not even just a universal faith, it is a cosmic faith.
Wow.
See, the word universe is that there's one universe, and now we understand that there's more than one, what we used to call universe.
Sure.
Probably parallel universes and all these things, and this is just understood by
smart people.
Cosmicists, right? So there's all this cosmos going on. Whatever story God is about has to be big enough to include the entire cosmos. Nothing is left out.
Okay.
In fact, I think that if you follow the Jesus story, that's clearly what you would be seeing. In fact, if you read the authors in the New Testament who write about this faith that Jesus was proclaiming and the faith that comes out of what we would call the Old Testament, what my Jewish friends would call the scriptures.
Sure.
That out of that they were saying there is something that involves the entire cosmos, that all of creation is a part of. And the fact that we've taken Christianity or we've taken Judaism and boiled it down so narrowly defined that what it really has to do with is your own personal experience and you as a human being sort of being engaged in this faith separate from everything else is far too small. And I'm not the one sort of making that up. I mean, some people would say, no, you're totally making that up. But I don't think I'm the one making that up. I think that is what the story itself says. And if we don't, and if you're watching online, you can see my arms are going out really wide and like I'm striking a messianic pose here. But what I'm trying to say is that it's the entirety of everything that has to be included. That all of creation is a part of this. That everything that exists in matter and antimatter has to be a part of this story. Now, I know that can sound really ethereal to people, but if you don't start there, then you would say, well, we have our faith, and the things of this world might interfere with that faith. And that's where I think trouble falls. And I know that you were saying earlier, well, that kind of phrase is a slippery slope, which is a great little phrase, because nobody wants to slip on a slope.
No.
I mean, sometimes even those little phrases like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, like, I don't want to throw my baby out.
No.
I don't care. I don't even know what you're saying anymore. I'm just worried about my baby.
Right.
And why am I throwing out bathwater? I have a drain. So I get all confused by that. But the slippery slope idea, or the tip of the iceberg, meaning there's something more, all those kinds of phrases are ones that people end up saying, look, you're really into, like, maybe Christianity is going to sort of be absorbed by a larger story here.
Yes, it loses its significance and its personal impact in a person's life. Because if you're talking that big stuff like that.
Yeah, cosmos. Then what does that have to do with you and your inner healing that was going on last week?
Okay, now you know.
No, I'm just saying, but that's
I didn't say I got it in
I am
healing.
picking on you about that.
Okay.
But that is what people worry about, right? That's the thing that people get all revved up about. So at this church that I'm a part of called Solomon's Porch in Minneapolis, we meet on Sunday nights. You're more than welcome to join us anytime. We're going to be reading the Gospel of John. It's one of the New Testament books. And doing the preparation for this little group that we have that puts together our sermons, we were reading the beginning of the Gospel of John, which starts out with this big cosmic picture.
It does.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and all that was created in and through and by. I mean, it is a story of the entire cosmos, and somehow people think that it would be better if really what the story had to do with was you getting out of this earth and getting to another place someday.
Yeah.
It is stunning to me. Now, I'm not saying that there's not afterlife for people. I'm not saying that there's not a story that keeps rolling through all of eternity. All I'm saying is the story that we start with is one of the entire cosmos, and everything in it matters.
But Doug, doesn't the old, the God of the Old and New Testament seem to call people to a pretty strict adherence to, either to the Old Testament covenant or to alliance with the with the suffering servant Jesus who died on the cross? How does God's pretty specific about what it takes to please him, and if you open the door to all this other stuff, those things don't seem to be important anymore.
They don't seem to matter anymore. All right.
Load up.
So we only got 2 minutes on this thing, but I'm
on.
loaded for bear. And I've never hunted for bear, so I don't know what that,
Be thrifty
what that
with
phrase
your
actually
words.
means. I'm going to be thrifty with my words. I think it's fair to say, if you were to read the story as it's chronicled in our Holy Scriptures, in the Old and New Testament, that what you see continually happening is an expanding of the story of God that people keep trying to restrict. And that the God character in the Scriptures keeps trying to open. Gets wider and wider and wider and wider. I think there's a way to say that the storyline that you're reading in the Old Testament starts at a more narrow place and starts to get wider and wider and wider. Now, not so much at the beginning of that story, because the beginning of that story in the Old Testament, in the Scriptures if you're Jewish, is as wide as it can be. In the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth, right? So it's everything that could be. But then it starts to narrow, and then it starts to widen and widen and widen. And because I don't think, like Michael Dowd, the guest who didn't show up, I don't think that the revelations of God stopped with Scripture, then what we continue to see is the continuing widening of this story. And the more we understand, the more we can tell the height and the breadth and the depth of this story, that it keeps becoming more and more and more. The story gets bigger and bigger. There's no way, and I'm going to chew up all the last minute so nobody can stop my
Biting the
words.
tip of my tongue off.
So that there's no way to tell the story of Jesus that doesn't continue to include and continue to expand. What were you going to say? I'll give you the last 20 seconds.
I don't know where to begin.
How about with confession that I'm right? But see, this
You
is
do
what
have
I
a good voice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a good voice. I do think this is the story that we ought to be telling, and that's why I think what Michael Dowd is doing in his book, Thank God for Evolution, and I think that when we get him back on the show, it's going to feel like a bit of a downer because he won't be as clear as this about it. But I do think this is the story that ought to be told, is that the story of Christianity is not the narrow way, and I know people are going to go, but Jesus said it's the narrow way.
Yeah.
That wasn't what he was getting at. He was getting at something else, and we can get into that some other time.
We need another hour, Doug.
Yeah, I know. We don't always pick apart all the Bible phrases. But we're going to be back with natural health coach Shelley Pagitt after this. She's going to give us a health tip of the week.
That'll be nice.
Here we go. Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950. Doug Pagitt Radio.